My name is Curtis Maloli. I am the Director of Teaching Development and Digital Learning within the Center for Excellence in Learning and Teaching. And this is a grant that we're really excited to launch. It is the third digital learning grant that we have launched this year. We have a partnership grant that's focused on OER that we've launched with the library that's currently in progress. We have some what we call digitally enhanced learning grants that we recently launched that help innovation in courses or components of courses. So those are underway. And this is the third and final grant that we are launching and that we're really excited about. And that is our Students as Partners in Generative AI. And so for those of you that are not familiar with Students as Partners as a kind of pedagogical framework, it has evolved over about 2 decades. It has a peer-reviewed journal called the International Journal I think it's the International Journal for Students as Partners, and it's hosted by McMaster University. This is a really robust and innovative approach to doing pedagogical innovation, and it really centers the relationship between student and professor. So I see we already have one student in the room, which is fantastic, and I hope other students get a chance to look at this, as well as numerous faculty members. So I'm going to turn it over to the team. They've put together a presentation to walk you through what we're hoping to do with these grants, and just wanted to say thanks again for being here. So Jason, I'll throw it over to you.
Thanks, Curtis. Welcome, everyone. It's really great to see, students and instructors here. We're very happy about that, especially during exam time. So thank you for making that sacrifice to come out here. I think we'll start by introducing the digital learning team. So we have Sally, who is our teaching resources and technology specialist. We have David Arumba, who is our instructional designer. And is Zara on the call? But we have Zara, who's also our financial guru. So like if you have any financial questions about putting into the grant, she's the best person to talk to. So let's look at the agenda for today. So we're going to be starting off with something that we haven't done yet with in our information sessions. We're going to start with something really fun, scenarios, and then we're going to go into what is SaP-GenAI, what is the framework for the grant, the application process, and of course, at the end, we'll have a question and answer session. So I will now go to the first, but before we go into these scenarios, this is what we'll be doing. So the DL team, Sally and David, will be presenting 2 scenarios. And after we looked at these scenarios, we're going to be looking at it from a partnership lens and asking ourselves, what could the instructor contribute? What could the student contribute? And what could be possible projects that we could do that is SaP-GenAI related? So we will start with the first scenario, and I'll pass it on to Sally.
Okay, I'm putting on my teacher hat, and this is not my particular teaching hat, just a different one. And imagining myself at the end of a class. So at the end of a course, at the end of the semester, like we are right now. So I'm not against AI, and it's here. It's being used in our industry quite a bit. So I want to help my students feel prepared to go into this industry. That said, I'm not sure how to make this work in my class. So this year I told students they could use Gemini for brainstorming and developing their proposal for the final project. Of course, I made sure that I got the chat shared with me as part of the proposal assignment. But then honestly, I was disappointed by a lot of the chats I saw. The students were asking chatbots to do all the thinking. Their questions were so basic. I guess that's not fair. Some asked good questions, but many seemed lost and like they hoped Gemini would give them all the answers. On top of that, the results I was getting were all over the map. So they were getting results from the actual tools that ended up being some of the weakest proposals I ended up getting and I've ever received. And so then on top of everything else, it was a lot of work to go through all those chats. I really want to give students the opportunity to learn about this technology, and I was hoping using these tools would enhance their learning, not hinder it. I just wish I knew how to help my students think through things more before they use AI. And of course, I want to encourage them to only use these tools when it would be appropriate to do so. I just feel like I'm guessing at this point.
Basically, what we saw Sally did there was, a typical pain point that a lot of instructors are having right now. I think some of the instructors in the room might be able to really relate to that. So the summary is an instructor allows students to use generative AI for brainstorming their final report proposals, but found that many relied on it in ways that limited critical thinking and resulted in weaker submissions. The instructor wants students to develop skills to use AI thoughtfully and appropriately, but is unsure how to guide them effectively. So if we look at it from a pedagogical partnership point of view, the instructor sees values in partnering with a student to better understand how AI is currently being used and to co-design supports that strengthen learning. So what I want to put forward to you all now, and we're going to spend this a minute or so, is what do you think that in that kind of partnership would an instructor be able to contribute? And what would a student be able to bring to the table? And working together, what kind of outputs will they be able to create that will help in this situation? And this is the kind of thought process that you want to be going through when you are thinking about your project for SaPGenAI. And I will ask my colleague David to go through this one.
I think I'm cooked. In the next month, I need to finish 2 term papers, deliver a group presentation, and start studying for final exams. Not gonna lie, I'm feeling really, really tempted to use AI. Like, I think it could help me get unstuck with starting in some of my assignments, and it might help me level up my knowledge too before exams. But I know it's kind of risky. Some of my classes allow it, some don't. And I feel like some of my instructors are like overly confident in their ability to detect AI generated works. And I'm kind of worried that like I'll get accused of academic dishonesty even if I avoid using AI. I'm torn because like I know I'm here to learn and I don't want to cheat myself out of building valuable skills. Like why else am I here? But I also have so much going on right now and I just can't afford to crash out this late in the semester. I really wish I could get some clarity on if, when, and how I should or could be using generative AI.
So we have this second scenario now, which is more student facing. And the student sees value in partnering with an instructor to co-design guidance that helps students use GenAI responsibly and effectively in their learning. And again, if anybody wants to give any thoughts about, how the instructor, what role the instructor could play, student could play, what could be possible outputs. If nobody else has anything, I'll check in the chat. No. All right. So what is SaPGenAI? And there are 4 tenets for students as partners. It has to be relational. So the strength of the partnership is really built on how good the relationships are between the students and the instructor. It's dialogic, it's not just a one-way transmission of one person telling the other person to do something. And as we can see from Charlie and Tim's contribution, like they have a lot of ideas, and these are the ways in which you can start, thinking together and questioning assumptions and so on. And most people, when they come out of these kind of programs, they say it's transformative. Both the students and the instructors, they look at teaching and learning differently. And this system could only work if it's values-based. So partnerships is guided by principles about fairness, inclusion, and respect. So that's how all student as partners programs are built on these 4 pillars. What we are doing is doing something pretty new. And again, GenAI is also new. And with these kind of emerging technologies, right, there is that where instructors and students are navigating uncertainty. We're looking for a model that could provide a mechanism for incorporating student perspectives into the pedagogical decision making. And that is where we saw that student as partners, that framework could be used for us to figure out this GenAI thing together. But there are some common misconceptions of any pedagogical partnership. Some people get into this think that it's a one-way mentoring of a student, or it's a student shadowing the instructor, or it's similar as working with a TA. Or it means that as an instructor, I have to give up my power and my responsibility and I'm losing control. But that is not what Student as Partners is about. And what you should be thinking more about is that consider each other as co-applicants to this grant and that you all will be working together in partnership. So this was just from some studies. I pulled some testimonials. Maybe next year when we're doing our next information session, I'll be able to pull quotes from people inside this room here. But you see that, these are actual quotes from instructors who have been in Students as Partners programs. And they're saying that, they're having great conversations. It's expansive, it's inspiring, it's exciting. And similarly with students, they really appreciate that they have an equal voice and there's no hierarchy in these relationships. And it's a nice exchange between students and academics. Oh, David, you dropped the link these slides. Okay. So what would SaP-GenAI grant framework look like? So in terms of the partners, it consists of one TMU faculty TFA member. So you have to be TFA to qualify to be eligible for this. For the students, one way to guide on if a faculty member is TFA is maybe look at their title and see if it has associate professor or professor. That could be a guide there. And the student has to be an undergraduate TMU student, full-time student with good academic standing, and they should not be graduating during the grant period. And the goal here is, again, to co-design and co-create digital learning innovations that engage with GenAI ethically and pedagogically, like how we were talking about those scenarios. The funding consists of up to $4,000 per partnership, and the bulk of that funding is directed towards paying the student wages. They might have some money around for other things, and we could discuss that later. And for the scope of the grant, it's for the design and production of whatever intervention you're thinking of. Like the implementation aspect of it happens subsequent to the grant. And ideally, the course should not be live during the grant period. So for instance, if we are looking at this grant, upcoming grant, this is the fall 2026 grant. It means that you'll be working from August to December on a course that is not running during that time. But then you could use the intervention that you create to test it out and implement and see if it works in a subsequent offering, which ideally, if you have one in winter 2027, then it works really well. And so there are 4 priority focus areas that we are looking at when you apply for this grant. And you could apply for this under one of those buckets, or it could be more than one of those buckets. But they are the content transformation, accessibility, assessment redesign, critical and discipline-specific GenAI literacy, or you could look at learning support and metacognition. So it could be one of them, or it could be a combination of them. And the most important thing that we want to keep going when we do these projects is to keep the human in a loop. So although we are dealing with AI and we're getting these outputs, it is the partner's responsibility to really critically review these outputs and really check for accuracy, bias, pedagogical intent. So the GenAI is just a tool and is not a replacement for judgment. Partners are also responsible for verifying that the co-created materials comply with copyright law and open access principles. And, our philosophy is that learning remains a fundamentally social relational process. So the AI generates the raw material, but it's really the human partnerships that will refine it to true educational value. And so these are the kind of things we want you all to be thinking about when you're designing your projects. And don't be overwhelmed. You're not alone. We are here to help. So there'll be like onboarding sessions, there'll be consultations and so on. So one of the things that we said in the call for proposals is that you don't have to be an expert in GenAI to apply for these grants. We are here to help guide that process. So we'll be here helping you all. So my name is Jason Matthew. I am the education developer in digital learning at the center, and I will be your primary contact person for this grant. So if you all want to reach out before you even submit your application and you want to discuss a project idea, I'll be happy to meet with you and we could do that. I won't be able to help you. I won't be able to review the actual application that you'll be submitting, because I'm part of the adjudication committee, but I'll be able to discuss the ideas with you all. One of my jobs is that I wouldn't have all the answers, but I will connect you all with the right people. So like, let's say, for instance, you have an academic integrity question. I will connect you with somebody from the academic integrity office. So we have the curriculum quality assurance department. We have the academic integrity, which are the two that you all might be wanting to connect with. I could connect you to those people. But we also partner with other people outside of CELT. Like, for instance, you might also have a copyright question. And if you do have a copyright question, then I could connect you all to Anne, who is the copyright expert at the library. So we will be bringing people in as needed. So this is what the partnership life cycle will look like for this fall 2026 grant. So during this time, you all should be trying to form partners, and then as a peer, as a partners, you all could discuss the project scope, and then submit a joint application by June 8th. If you look at the application, you will see that there are sections that the student will have to fill out, and then the instructor will have to fill out, and then the student and instructor has to work together to fill out certain parts. During June and July, we'll be having the adjudication committee meeting, and there will be people from this from TDDL, like people in this room right now, but there'll be also people from quality curriculum quality assurance, as well as the TMU library. And we'll be looking at, in that application, how did you all express your partnership strength, the pedagogical value, and the GenAI literacy opportunities. And from August to December is when the grant will take place. And this is where student instructor partners will be co-designing, producing, and experimenting. But again, no implementation will be taking place during this period. And then milestone 4, which is dissemination and implementation. So, sharing the deliverables. So there'll be opportunities for you all to apply to present at the next Learning and Teaching Conference. And also we'll be doing a report where you could, a reflection report, as well as an option to be interviewed by us to put on the CELT website. So the application process, strongly recommend that you review the requirements and guidelines that's on the website. Then you form your student instructor partnerships, and together you all complete the following documents. You have a timeline form where it shows like what you're like planning to do for the months August, December. And then there's a budget form. Again, most of it will be going towards paying the student wages. And then there's a signatures form where you all will need to get departmental approval. So it's either your chair or your dean, whoever is the director for your department, they can sign off on it as well. And then all those forms will be submitted via the application form. And again, if you are having any issues with any of this process, please reach out to me. I'm happy to guide you all through this. I do other grants, and I remember people saying, can I really come to you and ask you questions about how to fill out the budget or the timeline, and I won't be penalized? And the answer is yes, you can reach out, ask any questions. It is not held against you in the adjudication process. In fact, I strongly encourage you, the people who have been successful in the grants are the people who reach out to us and ask all the questions and get that out of the way. So now I want to talk a little bit about the SaP-GenAI resource. So I'm definitely here to answer any questions that you all have, but you also get information on the website. So the SaP-GenAI call for papers, and there's also the handbook. Now I'm just going to click on the handbook, and hopefully you all can see that. Can you confirm that you're seeing yes, David, thank you. All right, so the handbook goes into a lot more detail than what we could have put on the webpage. And so please go through it each step, but some of those areas that you might find very important, and again, use the handbook as you need, as you see fit. So for instance, the priority focus areas, if you click on that tab, it goes into more detail of what each focus area, what you should be thinking about doing in each focus area. And then there's some examples of what will qualify for that focus area. So you can look at that there. And I think this was one of the questions that came up, like what the guidance do we have in building these strong partnership? So we have questions here on when you form your partnership. These are the kind of questions you're going to be having to discuss with each other to really develop this partnership. And I would tell you that these questions will help you when thinking about these questions. The answers to these questions will help you when you're filling out the application form, because these are the kind of things that the adjudication committee will be looking for. And then there's more information about the adjudication process and so on. So I'm going to go back to the presentation. And then there's the SaP-GenAI grant guide. And there's also, the center has a general AI webpage that you can get information about GenAI as well. So it has things like about prompt engineering, it has things about academic integrity and so on. One of the things that we developed that is different from the other grants is that we also created a SaP-GenAI grant guide, and it's basically a gem that you can use to ask questions. Now the gem, and I could let me just click on it to open it up. So this is what it looks like. It's like it looks just like the Gemini interface, but it's a specialized chatbot. And these are the kind of things that we're looking forward to see if you all will create for your courses. And if you all need help with these gems, if you're interested in gems, again, reach out to me. I could help you with that. But this gem is built on the knowledge base that is the call for proposals website, that information there, as well as the handbook. So you should be able to, so it's like, instead of just reading the website or reading the handbook, you could ask the gem here, the questions that you might have, and it should be able to pull the information from those documents, and it should also give you a reference so you can see where the information is coming from. I know one person had said in the registration form that they couldn't open the gem no matter what. So I'm not sure what the problem was, but I remember them saying that they were using Chrome and it was on a Mac computer. So funny enough, I'm on a Mac computer and I'm using Chrome, but I suspect the only thing I could think of is that I wonder if they are not using their TMU credentials. So one of the easiest way to do this is on that same Chrome browser, make sure that you are logged in with your TMU credentials, and then open the link there and see if that happens, because we are using the TMU licensed version of Gemini to build these gems and so on. All right. So yes, so there were some questions from the registration form, and I'm very grateful that you all had those questions so we could go through them step by step. So one of the questions was, what's the best way a first-year student can find an instructor to partner with? And our recommendation is that you would have, worked with instructors in your courses, and you should have a gauge of the instructor that you want to work with. And I would recommend that you reach out to that instructor, send an email saying, this is what you want to, you're thinking about, this is what you want to do. Just remember, there's no, the instructor does not have to agree to want to apply for the grant, And the other thing that I would strongly recommend is that you, as the students, you all reach out to me, and we could probably help draft that email. We could work on some email templates. And the idea here is that we don't want to go and come from a deficit perspective lens. We want to come from a strength-based lens, and I can help you all work with that and to reach out to an instructor. And funny enough, just like how students were looking for an instructor to work with, in that same registration form, instructors were saying, well, how do I find students to work with? And they will have a few ways. Like, for instance, you may have the class list for the course that you were thinking about working in. You could reach out to students that way. You know some students, you can reach out to them directly. Or you may have an admin person at the department who could probably send out a a notice to students asking them if they are interested in working with you on this project. Yeah. So how many hours can a student work on this grant? So this grant allows up to 130 hours for the whole grant period. So that's up to. So you could either use the full 130 hours, or you could use less. And for these kind of contracts, you could work a maximum of 24 hours a week. Again, this is a partnership. You all are working together. We just tell you how many you can work up to, but you all can discuss what it would look like how many hours you all want to meet a week, how many hours you want to dedicate for actual working on something, and so on. Can my first year master's student take part? Unfortunately, no. This grant is specifically for undergraduate students and not for graduate students. Can a contract lecturer be eligible if they have full sign-off from their department? Now, I mean, I'm very happy to know that there's interest there and that the department head has his support. Unfortunately, for this grant, it is strictly for TFA instructors. What is a realistic amount of time required per week throughout the semester for each partner? Again, that will depend on the project, depend on the people working in the project, and we leave that up to the partners to decide. Will the project start shortly before the fall semester or after? So the timeline here is that the project begins from August and ends in December. Now, what that looks like again, you as a partner, you can decide exactly when your start date is. So August might just be that you're doing some planning and stuff, which you could do asynchronously. And then, you start working on stuff in September. So it all depends on the type of project. And again, you could always reach out. I'm happy to discuss those things. And the final one was, I would like clarity on best practices for equitable student and faculty partnerships using GenAI, including ethical considerations, student recognition, and examples of success projects. And guidance on evaluation criteria and expectations will be helpful. So I think we covered that in the previous slides, but if there's still something that you all need to ask, we have we're going to open the floor very soon. And in terms of successful project, as I said, this is an exciting time for us. Like, Student as Partners program has been around for 20 years, but there's less literature on GenAI and using this framework to address GenAI issues. And so we are in a very unique space where these projects are going to be very, very unique. So I'm excited to see what you all come up with. So, and I see Curtis just put something there. Typically, course design activities taken on by contract lecturers have to be compensated under the collective agreement. It is not included in CL's teaching contract, contract lecturers contract. This is the main reason we can't extend the grant to contract lecturers. So again, just Curtis confirming there why we had to go with TFA instructors. Okay, so now I've done a lot of talking. We're going to put the floor open now for if you all have any questions.